Imagine the strongest fighters are alive today, undergone champions, martial art masters, monsters who can break a bone with a single punch. Now imagine throwing a warrior from 4000 years ago into this world, not just any warrior, a man who fought countless duels in real history, a swordsman so feared that people called him unbeatable, and suddenly he is alive again, walking in modern Japanese, and the moment he sees modern fighters, he realizes something shocking. They fight to win, but he fights to kill them. This is terrifying idea behind BAKI-DOU, the arc where my legendary samurai Miyamoto Musashi returns and collides with the brutal world of Baki Hanma. And trust me, this gets absolutely insane. Hi everyone, welcome back to ANIME PTB. Don't forget to like it, share it and subscribe it. If you enjoy anime and manga where fights are pushed to the absolute limit, the Baki series is probably already on your radar. This franchise has always been known for extreme characters and ridiculous strength, but after the legendary confrontation between Baki Hanma and Yujiro Hanma, many fans wondered something simple: where could the story go next? How do you rise the stakes after the battle like that? Well, the author decided something nobody expected. Instead of introducing another fighter, he introduced history itself, the real samurai. Today we are diving into BAKI-DOU, the Invincible samurai arc, where the legendary Miyamoto Musashi is revived and forced to fight modern martial artists. We will talk about the story, what the first 12 episodes cover, the biggest strengths and weaknesses of the arc, what fans are saying about this, and of course my honest rating after watching it. So let's jump straight into the story. After years of brutal battle, the fights in the Baki universe are still changing the same thing: a stronger opponent. For warriors like Baki, fighting is not just a competition, it's a purpose. Meanwhile, somewhere in Japan, a group of scientists and historians begin working on something extraordinary. Using preserved remains and advanced science, they managed to recreate the body of one of Japanese most famous warriors, a man whose name has been written in history books, Miyamoto Musashi. But recreating a body is not enough. Through usual spiritual techniques, they attempt something even more unbelievable. They restore his consciousness, and suddenly a warrior from the Edo period opens his eyes in the modern world. At first, Musashi is confused. The world he sees is nothing like the one he remembers. Cities filled with lights, machines everywhere, a society that has moved far beyond the battlefield. But then he meets fighters, and the moment he senses their strength, something inside him awakens. Because even though the world has changed, the spirit of combat is still alive. Now, what makes this arc so interesting is the difference between the ancient warriors and modern fighters. In the modern world of martial arts, fights have rules. There are referees, there are limits, but Musashi has come from the completely different era. In his time, a fight means survival. One mistake could mean death, and because of that, his mentality is completely different from everyone else in the story. To him, the combat is not a sport, it's a war, and the mindset makes him extremely dangerous. Even when he does not hold a sword in his hand, he fights as if one is there. His movements are precise, his instincts are sharp, and his presence alone makes experienced fighters go uneasy. Very quickly, the word begins to spread. A samurai has returned, and he wants to test himself against the strongest fighters of modern era. First 12 episodes focus on introducing the Musashi and showing how he interacts with the world around him. At the beginning, we saw him trying to understand modern life. Simple things like buildings, vehicles, and the crowd streets feel like strange to somewhere who lived centuries ago. But the moment he encounters martial artists, everything becomes clearer. His instincts immediately return. Early encounters with fighters reveal just how terrifying his skills truly is. Even without using a physical sword, Musashi demonstrates the techniques that feels almost supernatural. Opponents describe the sensation of being cut even when no blade is visible. The idea becomes one of the most fascinating elements of the arc. Musashi does not just rely on strength, he relies on experience. Every movement he makes has the precision of someone who has spent his entire life fighting real battles. As the episode progresses, stronger and stronger fighters become curious about him. Some want to challenge him, others simply want to observe, and slowly tension begins building towards the inevitable moments with Musashi meets the legend of the Baki world. Now, what this arc does well, one of the biggest strength of this arc is central character. Musashi feels completely different from previous opponents. Many villains in the Baki universe rely on overwhelming physical power. Musashi, on the other hand, represents the technique and the philosophy. His calm attitude attitude contrasts with the chaos around him. He speaks politely, he observes quietly, but the moment a fight begins, he becomes incredibly dangerous. Another strong aspect of the story is the exploration of the martial arts philosophy. Instead of focusing only on the physical strength, the arc examines the mindset of warriors. What does it mean to fight seriously? What separates a competitor from a true warrior? These questions appear repeatedly throughout the story, and for the fans who enjoy deeper discussion about martial arts, this element adds an interesting layer. Finally, Musashi's presence creates a sense of the unpredictability because he does not follow modern rules. Every fight carries a different kind of tension. You never know exactly how he will react. Of course, this arc is not perfect. One common criticism is the pacing. Compared to the earlier parts of the Baki story, this arc moves more slowly. Some characters spend a lot of time on dialogues and explanation rather than action. For fans who primarily watch Baki for non-stop fights, this can feel little frustrating. Another issue is that some familiar characters receive less attention in the early part of the arc. Fans who love certain fights may feel disappointed when they do not appear so often as expected. However, these issues are mostly related to storytelling style rather than quality. The arc focuses heavily on the building Musashi as a character before fully unleashing the large conflict. My honest thoughts: after watching the first 12 episodes, I have mixed but mostly positive feelings. The concept alone is incredibly creative. Bringing a real historical swordsman into the modern fighting universe is such a bold idea that immediately grabs attention. Musashi himself is easily one of the most interesting characters introduced in the entire franchise. Every scene with him feels intense. However, I do understand why some viewers feel the story moves slowly. There are moments where the pacing could definitely be tighter. Still, when the action finally arrives, the fights are dramatic and memorable. For me, the strongest part of the arc is not just a battle, it's the atmosphere. There is a constant feeling that something huge is about to happen, and that tension keeps the story engaged. Now, talking about the fans, looking at the reaction from the fans and reviews, the opinions are surprisingly divided. Some people believe this arc is one of the most fascinating part of the Baki story. They appreciate the philosophical discussion and the unique character of the Musashi. Others feel the arc lacks the wild energy that made earlier battles so entertaining. However, one thing almost everyone agrees on is Musashi himself is unforgettable. Whatever people love him or dislike him, he leaves a strong impression. And in a long-running series like Baki, creating a character that memorable is an achievement in its own. So after everything we have discussed, here is my personal rating. Story 8 out of 10, characters 9 out of 10, fights 8 out of 10, overall score 8.5 out of 10. It may not be the fastest arc in the series, but it introduced one of the most unique characters that franchise has ever seen. The Baki universe has always explored the limits of the human strength, but Baki-DOU adds the little different perspective. It asks what happens when the past collides with the present, when ancient warriors meet the modern fights, and when the rules of combat suddenly disappear. The result is a story filled with tension, philosophy, and unpredictable battles. And if you're a fan of martial arts anime, it's definitely an arc worth experiencing. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Baki-DOU, the Invincible Samurai, make sure to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. And who do you think would win in the serious fight, Musashi or Baki? And of course, subscribe to ANIME PTB for more anime discussions and breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye, sayonara.